Hi, I'm Dwayne Brown. Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, freeze warnings and frost advisories around San Diego, prompting worries about the homeless and about our agriculture industry. We'll tell you what farmers are doing to protect their crops and how you can protect your home garden.
And I'm Peggy Pico. On our Friday Roundtable, we'll take a closer look at the effectiveness of one shooter response training program for local universities and schools. Then we'll have the latest details on today's closed-door court session over the possible release of a convicted murderer and sex traffic victim, Sarah Cruzen.
And a new play in San Diego offers a seldom-seen view of Abraham Lincoln. KPBS Evening Edition starts now.
KPBS Evening Edition is made possible by Joan and Erwin Jacobs and by
Good evening. Thanks for joining us. It's going to be a night to bundle up. The Weather Service has put out a freeze warning for much of San Diego County tonight with temperatures in the 20s and 30s. This map shows all the different watches and warnings throughout Southern California. The freeze warning extends through our inland valleys, windy and cold in the mountains, and a frost advisory for the desert. Forecasters are also warning about possible flooding along the coast through tomorrow morning, where there's a small craft advisory up as well off the coast. Imagine spending tonight sleeping outside. Father Joe's Village is opening an emergency shelter this evening. They'll be able to put 166 people in their dining room, but an estimated 5,000 of the county's homeless have no place at all to go. And they are particularly vulnerable to these frigid temperatures. It's something doctors in our area are concerned about.
There's a few reasons why they're particularly vulnerable. The nutritional status sometimes isn't as ideal. You know, we need that nutritional status to keep us healthy, to ward off some of these viruses. Their ability to kind of proactively seek care is sometimes impaired.
A spokesman for Father Joe's Villages says they will try not to turn anyone away over the next few nights. Meanwhile, San Diego's winter homeless shelter is in need of more blankets. You can find out more on how to help them out on our website. That's kpbs.org. Now, the cold snap could also be a threat to San Diego's agriculture industry. KPBS reporter Susan Murphy has that story.
San Diego farmers will likely be up all night watching temperatures and putting freeze protection measures into play. San Diego's last big freeze in January 2007 caused millions of dollars in damage to the region's agriculture industry. Now, San Diego Farm Bureau Chief Eric Larson says he's worried about a replay. He says there are three main things that farmers can do to protect their plants in freezing temperatures. The first one is blanketing low-lying crops like strawberries and nursery plants. He says that retains the Earth's heat close to the plants. For trees and taller crops, farmers use wind machines, and that mixes the low cold air with the high warm air to protect the trees. He says a final thing that growers can do is turn on the water. Larson says when water comes out of the ground, it's warmer than the air. He says if that water freezes on the plants, it actually creates a coating of protection for the plant when the temperatures reach below freezing. Susan Murphy, KPBS News.
We are in the middle of flu season, and it's not too late to get a flu shot. California is seeing more cases of influenza over the past few weeks, but nothing like the elevated levels in the south and northeast. The county health agency says more than 360 cases are confirmed in San Diego, compared to 108 flu cases at this time last year. Now, washing your hands thoroughly and often is one simple way to avoid the flu. If you become sick, stay home at least 24 hours after the fever is gone to avoid infecting other people. And getting vaccinated sooner than later is the best way to prevent getting sick. It takes about 2 weeks after vaccination for your body to build enough immunity against infection.
We're seeing a trend upwards. It's hard to know what will happen. I mean, we've seen these trends go upwards and all of a sudden it falls off the face of the map. At this point, it's really hard to say which path we're taking, but it certainly does not feel like the trend we had many years ago, which was more of a serious case of the influenza spread.
So far, the county health agency reports 2 flu-related deaths in San Diego. Both were elderly women in their late 80s and early 90s. The city of Escondido has finished its personnel investigation that prompted the retirement of its police chief, but city officials say they will not reveal their findings because it's a personnel matter. Jim Mahar was placed on leave last September because of the investigation. A few weeks later, he announced his retirement. San Diego native James Holmes has been given 2 months to enter a plea on 166 felony counts connected to last summer's shooting in a Colorado movie theater. Holmes is charged with killing 12 people and injuring 70 others. His attorneys asked for the delay during his arraignment. Prosecutors believe the defense wants more time to build an insanity defense. Investigators in Kern County are looking into reports of previous problems with a 16-year-old boy accused of shooting and wounding a high school classmate yesterday. They say the boy may have been suspended last year for having a hit list. They're also checking out claims the boy was bullied by the victim. Mass shootings are driving demand for training programs to show people how to survive, but who should get the training and how effective is it? Peggy Pico takes a look at those questions in our Friday Roundtable.
About 24 participants, including staff from Vista Unified School District, UCSD, and UC San Diego, took part in the ALICE program, which stands for Alert, Lockdown, Inform, Counter, and Evacuate. This is video of the 2-day program run by a private company called Response Options. Here to talk more about it is LA Times editor Tony Perry. Tony, welcome back. That little video clip we just saw, and certainly in your story, it was described this rather bone-chilling reenactment where you had somebody with an air pistol banging on a door saying, "I'm going to kill you all." Was it a little too soon and too real for both you and the participants?
It was scary. It's one of these things where you know it's phony, but at some level it gets to you and the knees start to knock. You're right. These role players, as it were, went through the dormitory shouting, "I'm going to kill everybody," and kicking doors and firing off these air pistols. And the resident assistants, the dormitory assistants who will be working with students during the year, were playing the role of students, and we were seeing how they would react. They did pretty well, by the way. They had been lectured. They had been told, when it goes down, barricade the door, lay flat, go out a window if you can, only if you have to fight. But when you fight, fight. Didn't come to that. And all of them, quote, survived. In other places where this Texas-based company has given these seminars, everybody has, quote, died.
Oh, how awful.
People are getting the idea.
The simulation was part of it, of course. What else was included in this
Well, it was
training?
2 days. The simulation, the theatricality of it was the final day. But there were a lot of lectures and also how to walk students through what to know, how to deal with students. Also, what does law enforcement do? Since Columbine, law enforcement has a different philosophy, and that is first responder, first person there in, go right to the threat. In Columbine, you may remember, they waited. The SWAT squad waited to assemble and then went in. Now, did anyone die while SWAT was organizing? Not that we know of, but still, it forced a change in philosophy. First responder in,
takes care of the gun.
Neutralize that threat.
Let's talk about the basic tenet that you sort of touched on with self-defense, which is basically run if you can. If you can't run, hide. And if you can't hide, then fight.
Fight if you have to. Go out a window if you can.
Yeah.
Learn to break a window. Don't worry about breaking the window. Just break it and get out.
My question to you on this, do you think school-age kids, high school kids, and then this was for college, but still, do you think kids can actually absorb this sort of, run, hide, fight, or do you think it's better left to principals, teachers, RAs at dorm rooms? What do you think?
I think it's something that everybody over the age of maybe 15 ought to be exposed to and see if they can assimilate it. Will they be able to use it when the real thing hits and adrenaline and fear takes over? We'll see. But better to be prepared than to be frightened and caught unawares.
Well, the real thing has happened, unfortunately, many times here in San Diego. People may recall back in 1979, Brenda Spencer shot and killed 2 at Grover Elementary School in San Carlos. In 1996, Frederick Davidson fatally shot three San Diego State University professors. 2001, Charles Williams killed 2 and wounded 13 at Santana High in Santee. Many remember that. And then most recently, Brendan O'Rourke wounded 2 girls in a shooting spree at Kelly Elementary in Carlsbad. Now, you've covered most of these tragedies, all except for Brenda. Do you think here in San Diego we've learned anything from these?
I think we have, and I think law enforcement, both at the campuses, colleges and universities, and also the K-12 have learned a lot. They meet regularly, and this is one of the topics, not the only topic, but it's one that they talk about. At San Diego Unified, they take a very proactive approach, I'm told, to listening and watching the kids if they start to talk about things that talk about violence or on social media, Facebook, whatever. They intervene, they go to class, they go to the homes, counselors, cops, and in rare occasions they'll throw a 72-hour psychiatric hold on a kid. So they're trying to be proactive rather than wait till it happens. Now when it happens, if it happens, they have all sorts of procedures and training, but better to head it off before it does occur.
All right, we are out of time. LA Times editor Tony Perry, thanks so much for talking with us.
My pleasure.
San Diego will have to contribute more than $275 million to its pension fund in the next year because of poor investment performance and the cost of implementing pension reform. How much more depends on when the city puts the money in. If it's paid by July 1st, the contribution will be $275.4 million, but if the city pays throughout the year, it goes up to $285.5 million. The city's paying just under $240 million this fiscal year, and say they've been preparing for the extra budget hit. A new study of Qualcomm finds the homegrown wireless chip maker leaves a huge economic footprint on San Diego. It's the county's 9th largest employer with nearly 12,000 workers here. KPBS business and environment reporter Eric Anderson joins us from the News Center. This report was commissioned, Eric, by the Workforce Partnership and Economic Development Corporation. What else did it find?
Well, it quantified a lot of things that people probably assume about the global corporation, and yes, it is a global corporation. In addition to the firm's 12,000 local workers, there are another 9,000 around the world. Qualcomm's economic impact on the San Diego region was measured at about $4.5 billion. That's both in direct and indirect economic activity. The study estimates that the company supports more than 27,000 jobs in the region, with each Qualcomm position linked to another 2.3 jobs in San Diego.
And how does that position the company inside the telecom sector?
Well, you might imagine Qualcomm is the biggest company on the block, but there are some 2,000 telecom firms that employ about 65,000 people here in San Diego County. Those are high-paying jobs, average wage about $108,000 in the telecom industry. Telecom accounting for about a fifth of all economic activity generated in the county.
So what's ahead for the technology giant?
Well, right now the company is focused squarely on mobile computing and wireless technology and a number of different products. Company spokesman Bill Bold said today that Qualcomm is working to meld their technical know-how with the healthcare industry. He says healthcare tools that incorporate wireless technology could be a huge growth area for the company.
KPBS reporter Eric Anderson. We also want to note Qualcomm is a supporter of KPBS. San Diego housing prices continued their upward trend last month. The Association of Realtors says December's average price was 18% higher than the year before. The rebound is expected to continue throughout the year. A sex trafficking victim convicted of killing her pimp in 1995 may be released from prison. Peggy Pico has more on the woman's latest court battle.
Sarah Cruzen spent some of her childhood in San Diego at age 16. After a long history of sexual abuse, she was sentenced to life without parole for killing her abusive pimp. Today, her case was back in a Riverside court, but behind closed doors. KPBS investigative reporter Amitha Sharma joins me with the latest on this very unusual case. And Amitha, you've been covering this case rather extensively. Remind us of what happened.
Well, back in 1995, Sarah was convicted of first-degree murder in the murder of her pimp, a guy by the name of Gigi Howard, who had abused her for several years. And abuse was a major major theme in her childhood. According to CPS filings, Child Protective Service filings, Sarah was abused by her mother from a very early age. Her mother would beat her. Her mother placed her in situations where her own boyfriends would sexually molest Sarah, and she was actually for a period taken out of the home because of the physical and sexual abuse. But when she
was 16, we just saw some pictures of her. She was 16 when she was convicted.
She was 16 when she was convicted. She says that her boyfriend's relative, a known criminal at the time, forced her, threatened her to kill her pimp. She went to a hotel room to meet the pimp with the idea that she would rob him and kill him. He began to try to force her into sex. She pulled out a gun and she killed him. She was put on trial, but her defense attorney never introduced the abusive background or the forced prostitution.
Let me ask you about that, because today's legal system, she would be considered a sex trafficking victim.
Correct.
So the defense, and back then it wasn't quite the same, but still, as you were starting to say, this defense of her was even unusual back then.
Well, he didn't introduce the abusive background, the forced prostitution. He never called one witness to the stand except her. And the prosecution basically had a field day with her. It was a very skilled prosecution, and she had to endure, pretty sophisticated cross-examination. The prosecution put on 7 witnesses. She was convicted of first-degree murder, and the judge in the case, the prosecution in the case, the defense in the case, and the probation department in the case did not know. She was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. They did not know that she could have actually been sentenced to life with the possibility of parole.
Okay, let's jump forward to today. Now, prosecutors met with Sarah's lawyers, as we said, in a Riverside courtroom. How old is she now, and what do we know what happened and what this meeting was about?
She's 34. So earlier this week, we reported that the Riverside County DA's office, where she was originally prosecuted, and Sarah Cruzen's appeals attorneys have reached a tentative settlement in the case. They're not releasing the details of this settlement. However, her appeals attorney did tell me today that it doesn't involve a new trial. So behind closed doors, a judge met with the two sides to offer his input on this tentative settlement. Next Friday, however, there will be a hearing in open court where we're likely to learn the terms of the settlement, and Sarah Cruzen is expected to be video conferenced in.
And the goal of this, of course, is to obtain her release.
Correct.
Okay. What happens next? And you told us Friday this happens. The process, if the court, if everything rules that yes, she can go, is she just automatically released? What happens when you're life on parole? I mean, life without parole, and now you're dumped back into society.
So it's unclear. I mean, if she's eligible for parole and she is paroled, then she would be released. I don't know how quickly that would happen, but again, we don't even know what the terms of the settlement are. But if that does happen, then, there will be a period of adjustment. She spent more than half of her life in prison. It's a different world now than it was in the mid-1990s.
Do you think that this case will have any impact on similar cases, either with sex trafficking, either with prostitutes who kill their pimps, or any children who have been abused, killing their abuser?
Well, this case has become a real rallying point for people who are advocating on behalf of child sex trafficking victims. I mean, they looked at this case and they were outraged. If anything, it's brought awareness to the issue. They took this case and said, look, this is what can happen. And there are, well, nobody really knows exactly how many child sex trafficking victims there are in the United States, but they exist, and it is an outrage. And so they've sort of used this case, in a sense, as a poster child for this bigger issue. All
right. KPBS, Amitha Sharma, thanks so much for updating us, and we'll hear from you next Friday, I'm sure.
Yes, thank you.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, technological one-upsmanship at the Consumer Electronics Show, plus the analysis of Shields and Brooks. That's Friday on the PBS News Hour.
From an Oscar-nominated movie to books and websites, the life of Abraham Lincoln continues to fascinate many. San Diego Theater is presenting a new one-man play exploring Lincoln's last day from the perspective of the doctor who tended to him in his final hours. Peggy Pico talked with the man behind the show earlier this week.
San Diego's premiere of the one-man play about President Lincoln at the Birch North Park Theater explores Lincoln's last day from the perspective of the doctor who tended to him in his final hours. Joining me to talk about his play is Hershey Felder, actor, playwright, and composer of An American Story for Actor and Orchestra. Hershey, thanks so much for talking with us today about this play. There seems to be a resurgence of interest in President Lincoln. Why do you think that is?
I think he represents the everyman rising to the occasion and doing something absolutely incredible and changing the entire world. And this is something that people relate to. I don't think it's as much that we're looking for the perfect president, and I also think it's fashionable, you know. But I really do believe that we see something of ourselves in him, and that's what people are looking for. They're looking reflection.
A little reflection, but you play the doctor, you play President Lincoln's doctor. Tell us more about your character.
It's less that he was his doctor than he happened to be a doctor in the house, where the phrase comes from, at the theater when Lincoln was shot. He was a 23-year-old nobody, a Union Army surgeon who had just entered the Union Army after studies at Bellevue Hospital in New York, and suddenly wanted to study the president's face, found himself at Ford's Theater, and Mrs. Lincoln puts him in charge. I mean, talk about, you know, having your stock go up all of a sudden. And so it was really quite a miraculous thing for him to be there, but by the same token, he found himself in the middle of history, and he had no idea how he got there or what he was doing there, and yet he cared for Lincoln for those last 9 hours, believing that Lincoln had could not see because of his injury, and that he couldn't speak, but he believed he could hear. And so while he directed traffic going to the house across the way, what kind of aids were administered to the president, he held the president's hand, and he believed that he wanted the president to die knowing he had a friend. And that just moved me beyond. So I said, okay, this is a story that needs to be told.
Through his perspective, that was those final sort of kind moments.
23-year-old would think of this. I mean, there are people who would think of it, but I was just so amazed how he had the presence of mind and the elegance and nobility. And this guy lived till he was 90 years old and only told the story once in his life, that being this time that we're going to tell the story. I was just fascinated by that.
Let's listen to a clip from An American Story.
Sure.
My dear country, my beloved people, I fondly hope, I fervently pray that this mighty scourge of war has finally passed. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive to finish the work that we are in, to bind the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow.
So something that strikes me about that clip is there was music, and I understand there's quite a bit of music in this performance. What types of music can people expect to hear?
Well, it's symphonic, and it was, and it's played live, and it's based on thematics of Stephen Foster, though processed through my own sense of composition. So much like in the way that historical composers would take themes of their country, this is what I did or tried to do here, and produce a score that underneath, we also have some singing in it, because there are moments that require singing that happened, you know, everybody sang. And so it becomes theatrical and musical in that way as well, and yet things like the Gettysburg Address are completely underscored, but they're all driven by the action. There's nothing in there that's a number. It's all driven by what's actually happening, and just about all of it is based on what actually happened.
And this isn't the first time that you've actually played a historical figure. You've done a play on Gershwin and Beethoven, among others. What is it about the historical character that's so attractive to you?
I think that it's the notion that real people find themselves in real situations and they rise to the occasion. And, you know, most of the people, the characters that I play are before they were icons. And that to me is interesting, is that that's our perspective of them. But they were real people, and that real people can be great. And this man, who history doesn't really know anything about, was a great comfort to America's greatest president, or who was perceived as, the man who was perceived as America's greatest president. That to me is a fascinating thing, that the everyman, that there are so many cogs in the wheel, you know, that make up what the wheel does. And that's very touching to me. And so the characters, as I look back on them, all represent something in their day that was part of a much greater whole, and I'm quite touched by that.
Already, I want to let people know that Hershey Felder's An American Story runs through February 3rd at the Birch North Park Theater. Thank you so much for talking with us.
Thank you for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
Tonight in Public Square, our story about San Diego Mayor Bob Filner's support of medical marijuana dispensaries in the county prompted this web comment by the Kind Gardeners Collective. Finally, a bit of progress. Filner's open support for the rights of qualified medical marijuana patients, as defined by state law, is a breath of fresh air here in San Diego. Also from our web, we heard from many of you about the death of Huell Hauser, Public TV's folksy icon who brought us so many interesting stories about California. Dana Irud wrote, "I often wonder how many other people besides me frequently dreamed of going on a road trip with Huell to some off-the-beaten-path destination in California. He was California's gold." He will be missed by all of us here at KPBS, and there will be a sunset memorial for Huell Hauser in Los Angeles at the Griffith Observatory on Tuesday. You can comment on this story or any other KPBS stories by following us on Twitter, liking us on Facebook, or email us at publicsquare@kpbs.org.
As we told you at the beginning of this newscast, there are frost and freeze watches and warnings around the county tonight. The coast is going to be the warmest spot tomorrow, partly cloudy. Very cold in the inland valleys with overnight temperatures in the 30s. In the mountains, it'll be in the 30s in the daytime, dropping down into the 20s at night. The desert will also have very cold nights, warming into the 50s during the day. Tonight's stories are on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us. You have a great weekend.